I was growing uncomfortable moving through the dimly lit halls of the cloister. I felt as though there was something just there at the corner of my eye, but when I turned to look, only emptiness, shadows, and dust. That is not to say that there were not others wandering the enclosure, for certainly there were. I recognized that both primary orc tribes were represented here. The strong, yet tranquil, Renkai busied themselves predominantly with meditative tasks, such as tending the bonsai trees, like the matron. Other orcs, of the Vec tribe, hurried about the place with a sense of urgency, carrying curious devices, some of which smacked of dwarven workmanship. There were astrolabes and sextants, and other devices I would normally have associated with seafaring and navigation. There were also elaborate collections of lenses in various sizes and color. The room I had been directed to in the North Hall seemed to be devoted to the Vec obsession over astrology. The center of the room was dominated by a vast orrery, a mechanical map of the solar system with planets and moons and moving parts. It was fascinating, but also struck me as fanciful and useless, as it clearly did not reflect reality. A great armillary sphere was also prominent in the room, and this at least was more sensible to me. At the center, the planet was represented by a bronze sphere, and various bronze shafts twisted around it, representing horizon lines, or the equator, or any number of other things. I did note that there seemed to be 4 round discs suspended at odd angles around the sphere with metal rods, and with no clear purpose to them. Each one had a dull blue crystal inlaid in it, and the only part of the sculpture that was not cast in bronze. A number of Vec orcs hustled around with maps and charts, and whispered mournfully amongst themselves. "I'm sorry," I interrupted, hesitantly. "Is one of you Graiad?" A few of the orcs spared me a baleful look, and then the group collectively moved away from me. "Great," I muttered, and glanced around the room some more. In stark contrast to all the astrological paraphernalia, a table was set out against the west wall, and littered with fierce and unclean-looking weaponry, ranging from crossbows to halberds. Next to this, there was a low round table with 2 pillows, and 2 steaming bowls of something green and brown. On the pillow furthest from me sat a very large orc, with his legs crossed and his eyes closed. He did not seem to be one of the Vec, but rather a Renkai, like the old crone in the garden. Hesitantly, I approached him. He did not stir. I stood there for a moment. Are you Graiad?" I asked. Still, the orc did not stir. I began to feel a little frustrated. Was he asleep or something? "Excuse me," I asked a bit louder this time, "but do you know where I can find Graiad?" The orc's left eye opened a sliver. His iris was a golden hue, and seemed almost to glow in the dimly lit chamber.
"Beggar human, sit. Eat,"
invited the orc, in an emotionless tone. His eyes closed once again. I glanced down at the table. There were 2 bowls of something. One was set in front of the orc, and one in front of an empty pillow. It was strange, but it seemed as though I had been inspected. Either that, or I was being invited to consume someone else's food. I wasn't sure what to do. I looked at the steaming bowl. It might have been a stew of some kind, but certainly none that I'd ever eaten. It had a sour, rancid smell, and there were things floating in it, and that I was not convinced were fully dead. The orc's eye opened a slit once more.
"Eat," he stated. "Eat be good for health."
How do you figure?" I said, looking down at the disgusting concoction and wrinkling my nose.
"Graiad trying to decide if he will kill beggar human or not kill beggar human,"
stated the orc flatly.
"Renkai believe it is impolite to kill human while he eating."
The orc cracked a rather sinister smile.
And so, Graid say, eat.
Either cowardice or obedience took over, and I found myself cross-legged on the pillow across from the great brute, with a spoonful of innards and the gods knew what else in my one hand, guiding it towards my mouth. It was all I could do not to gag. Now the orc grinned and took a taste of his dish.
Beggar human breaks bread with Graid. Good. Now, what reason in this meeting?
Grateful for the chance not to eat another putrid bite, I put down my bowl to explain. I was sent to you by an old orc woman who was tending the gardens, I said, realizing that I had never gotten the orc's matron's name.
And?
Well, she said you were a scholar with knowledge of the old world. I am seeking the truth of what happened there. The orc grimaced at me, I think. With orc expressions, it's kind of hard to tell. Then he spat on the ground, and something in his spit started to crawl away. I shuddered to think what I might have been just eating.
Sneaky old hag plays tricks on beggar human and Graid both. Graid is no scholar.
Oh, I said, crestfallen, and more than a little annoyed at being misled.
Vec are scholars,
continued the orc, ignoring me.
Weakling Vec, always worry. But sometimes useful. Graid come for Vec, Star Singer. Learn which weapon is best from Star Singer.
Graid gestured to the larger table, littered with every sort of weapon I could think of, though the majority had seen better days. Star Singer? I echoed, with a glimmer of hope. Is that someone who would know what happened to the old world? Why we all had to leave? The orc spat again.
Graid no need Star Singer for that. Graid know what happened. All orc know.
You do? I was surprised yet again. Perhaps the old crone had not steered me so wrong after all. Please, tell me what you know. The orc considered me a moment. Then he glanced around the room and over my shoulder. He seemed to be expecting something.
Mother say, you trade like merchant.
The orc said finally. I didn't immediately follow what he meant until it occurred to me once again that I had been expected at this meeting. Had the old crone actually been this brutish orc's mother? The orc was looking at me expectantly, but what did I have to trade? Following the orc's gaze, I noted what he was looking at. Not directly at me, but rather at where my missing arm would have hung. As the suggestion came to the tip of my tongue, it seemed absurd, but then, these were absurd times. I could tell you about my arm. The orc nodded encouragingly.
Yes, this will be good trade.
I glanced at the tied-off knot on the fabric of my tunic. I don't know why everyone I met seemed so interested in the arm these days. Maybe it was time to let the fabric down and stop making it so obvious. As I reflected upon what happened, I undid the knot, allowing the fabric of my shirt to fall freely. It almost looked like I did have an arm there, but the fabric moved slightly in an unseen breeze, betraying its emptiness. I glanced at the arm once more. I'd been fielding this question for a long time now, and you'd think I would be used to it, but it grated on me every time I asked. It was badly burned in a fire, I would tell people. It couldn't be saved.
Yes,
said the orc with a nod.
But tell Graid
what it means to me. I found myself cutting him off. The orc just nodded. This was way too much of a coincidence. Have you ever met a girl named Arky? I inquired. The orc shrugged.
Graid not think so. Is Arky what missing arm means to you?
No, I replied slowly, thinking back to the night of the fire. There had been a fire in a temple. It was a small one, old and made predominantly of wood. It had been at nighttime, and so the place was empty, and the priests had been away in their dormitory. I happened to be there. I didn't realize that fire spread so fast, and so I tried to save some old relics, but a heavy wooden beam fell on my arm and was trapped beneath. The priest said that it was a miracle I survived at all, but if I'm being honest, I oftentimes think death would have been kinder. It means, I recalled, glancing once again at the hanging fabric where my arm had once been. It means that this world rewards kindness with cruelty. The orc let out a hearty belch, which I found somewhat out of his character. It was followed up with a smirk.
Beggar human trade is good. Human have saying Graid like. Human say, have to be cruel to be kind. Is orc way.
Gray gestured to his weapon table.
Human tell Graid. Which weapon human find most powerful?
I was a bit confused by his change in the direction of our conversation, but I decided to play along. Most of the weapons looked like they wouldn't need to do much more than scratch you to give you an infection that would doubtless do you in. But I suppose if you wanted to be more efficient and thorough about it, the greatsword, I replied. It looks like it would slice a man in two. Graid hefted the greatsword by the hilt in one meaty hand and offered it to me.
Great sword,
Graid said, in what could only be described as a mocking tone.
Bad choice for one-armed human beggar. Choose again. Which weapon most powerful?
Graid was right, of course. The great sword was powerful for some, but useless for someone like me. I scanned the table. One of the weapons was a trigger-action crossbow, fit for one-handed use. The crossbow, then. I can fire that. The orc smirked and handed me the crossbow. It was empty. He then handed me a small wooden bolt with a metal tip, except I had no free hand to take it in.
Unloaded crossbow. Maybe nice ornament. Lousy weapon for one-handed beggar.
Chastised the orc.
Try again.
Feeling sheepish, I scanned the pile again. There was a bow, but that presented the same problem as the crossbow. There was a spear, and there was a lance, and a halberd. All weapons I could hold, but not make use of, like crossbow. They had no utility for me. They were just ornaments. Finally, my gaze settled upon a plain old dagger. Though old, it seemed cleaner than the rest of the weapons. Probably, I guessed, because it never got used much. That one, I said, pointing. The dagger. The large orc scooped up the dagger as though it were a butter knife.
Good,
said the orc.
Least powerful weapon for Graid. Most powerful weapon for beggar human. Dagger good. You take.
The orc tried to hand me the weapon. I tried as civilly as I could to push it away. No, sorry. I don't need a weapon. I need information about what happened to the old world. The orc seemed confused.
Beggar human get information, but beggar human need powerful weapon. Trade is good. Graid offer both.
I found myself frowning at the dagger. I can't use that. I'm no warrior,
We all warriors.
stated Graid.
Some warriors more successful. Some warriors less successful.
Admonished the orc, gesturing to my missing arm for emphasis.
Dagger, you take. Outside these walls. Not safe for beggar human. Not safe anymore.
He pushed the dagger towards me, insistently. I didn't like the sound of that, and I suppose there was no harm in taking the weapon as a gift. Very well, I said. Thank you. And now, about the old world?
Dwarves.
Replied the orc, simply, and then spat again on the ground and fell silent. I wondered whose job it was to clean up all the orc spit around here. Just one word, dwarves? Could you be a little more detailed? How the dwarves responsible?
Graid not require many words to speak the truth,
Responded the orc with a shrug.
but Graid understand beggar human want old story, no book. Orc tradition handed down father to son. Every orc son learned to tell about greed of dwarf king. Every orc tell his son.
The orc's eyes seemed to go unfocused, and I could see he was thinking back to when his father had told him. I settled into a comfortable position upon my pillow. The lights in the room were dim and glinted off the metal of the instruments. Dwarvish instruments, as far as I could tell. That seemed odd, given the story I was about to be told. There was nobody left but the two of us. The Vec had gone off to seek their other pursuits.
Orc and elf. Dwarf and man.
Began the orc.
All breathe of air, drink of river, eat of root and berry and creature. The world provides. Orc no, elf no, filthy elf. Even human. Small human, young human, understand. But dwarf. Dwarf shun great sky. Dwarf hide under great rock, not know the forests, not respect the waters. Rely on human trade for creature, berry, root. For greedy dwarf, bounty of land is not enough.
It seemed to me that he was describing the Junior rather than the Nikua. I wasn't an expert on dwarves by any means, but I knew that the Nikua did not live in mountains as the Dinuor did, and some of the Dinuor were renowned as great hunters.
Heart of dwarf, away from nature, became hard like mountain rock. Dwarf king is tyrant, always say dig deeper, mine further, more jewels, more metal. Legend say, Dwarf King had weak heart. Sought help from human sorcerer. Human sorcerer give him drake heart. Dragon heart. So Dwarf King became greedy like dragon. Care only to fill his vault with glitter and shine.
That is quite a tale, I agreed once the orc paused. But I don't see how this has anything to do with the fate of the whole world.
Listen and know. World that was. Bountiful landscape provided all that was needed. The soil, the garden. This is the skin. The mountains, this is the bones. Body has heart. Body has soul. Deep within mountains, selfish dwarf king found heart of world and fire of soul.
This was certainly starting to sound more like the tale that I was looking for.
Heart of the world, unlike eating metal known to dwarf. Not meant for mining. Of course not. Dwarf shovel could not dent it. Dwarf axe not splinter it. Dwarf hammer not mold it. Outside heart, fire of soul was whimsical and lively. Dance of flames and emotion. Fire of soul was beauty and serenity and passion.
The orc smiled fondly, as if remembering it firsthand.
Warm fire and cool heart. Lovers beneath mountain. Dwarf admired them. Orc, elf, even small human. Young human. No, they scared. Spirit of world.
The orc, who had till now seemed to be finally reminiscent, suddenly took on a dark tone.
But Dwarf King, selfish, greedy, with dragon heart of stone. Dwarf King betrayed us all. Mad Dwarf King knew fire of soul breathe as you or I, but only saw tool to use. Dwarf King stole fire of soul, killed fire of soul, thinking to forge heart of world. Dwarf King mean to open heart of world, mean to enter heart of world. Foolish, mad, greedy Dwarf King. Of course, all his wants could never be. Soul of fire was extinguished, and heart of world was distraught. Heart of world brought back soul of fire. But she was changed, not full of life, but now full of death. Soul of fire was sick and foul and angry, and dwarves fled mountain home as liquid fire erupted. The end was beginning. Fire sickness spread quickly. The world sickened. No creature spared. Beast, nor plant, nor orc, nor even small human, young human. Vec prayed to the sky for help, but nothing is enough. Renkai fight brave battles, but nothing is enough. Orc and filthy elf cease fighting each other, even join with human and dwarf to battle the fire sickness. But nothing is enough. Gods take pity. Open for us path of echoes.
The orc spread his hands in an open gesture.
Here we are.
Wow, I mustered, after a lengthy pause, to take it all in. That is quite the story. The orc simply shrugged.
Is trade. Beg a human want to know what was. Graid tell what was. What was is old, done, useless. Graid care more for what would be. Graid asked Starsinger, learn which weapon best. Vec sees signs. Starsinger sees signs. Starsinger know best. Graid, be ready.
After a very interesting story, Graid had started talking what, to me at least, amounted to nonsense. Ready for what? I asked.
Return,
said the orc.
Vec sees signs. Starsinger sees signs. Path of echoes open once more. Graid be ready. Beggar human be ready too.
I blinked at him stupidly. Wait, what? What do you mean? The orc sighed, as much as an orc can sigh. He started speaking slower.
Soon. Path of echoes open. Vec say so. Starsinger say so. Old knowledge useless, future knowledge good. Graid return to world that was. Battle great foes. Win great honor. Beggar human, come with Graid. Join Graid clan. Win great honor.
I couldn't tell if the orc was being sarcastic or not, but he clearly seemed to believe what he was talking about. The Path of Echoes seemed to refer to the path between this world and the world that was. Did he truly believe a time was coming that the path would open once more? I'll think about it. I'd better go. I found myself stumbling to my feet.
Graid serious. Decide not kill beggar human. Beggar human amuse Graid. Beggar human join Graid clan. Or not, is same. But offer stands.
Thank you, I sputtered, not knowing what else to say. I still had the dagger he had given me in my hand. And for this, thank you. The orc had already closed his eyes and resumed meditating. Before long, I found myself back in the garden. It was darker now, but the old orc matron remained, waiting for me, it seemed.
So, what did you learn?
Intoned the old matriarch with a toothy grin. I hesitated. I learned that not all orcs speak the same. Is he really your son? She smirked at me.
Not all humans do either, so why should we? And yes, he is. I hope you forgive me for sending you to him. The story he told you is one any orc here could have shared some version of, but I thought it best you meet him.
This revelation, while unsurprising, was more than a little irritating. You couldn't have simply told me yourself?
Orc tradition passed from father to son, of which I am neither. So you tell me, what did you learn?
You know very well, I exclaimed. It was a dwarf king who went mad and slew the soul of the fire. He wanted to break open the heart of the world, and so the world defended itself with some sort of fire sickness.
A captivating explanation of events,
agreed the old crone.
Are you satisfied with it?
Am I? It was a question I hadn't considered. Well, yes, of course. Why shouldn't I be?
Well, have you considered asking a dwarf?
My lack of response made it clear enough to the old orc matron that I hadn't really thought about that. And so she continued.
The man of great listening must absorb words, as the bat seeks the echoes of the night. Hear all sides, and you will be enlightened,
stated the orc.
Hear one side, and you will be in the dark.
You would have me visit a dwarf and ask for his side of the story? I said, thoughtfully. The orc nodded.
Relax,
she added.
I have no intention to ship you off to the Ash Mountains. There's a Nikuar settlement less than a day's journey to the south. Seek there for your second scholar, and learn the truth that you seek.
I narrowed my eyes slightly. A true scholar this time? No tricks?
No tricks.
The old orc flashed her grin.
Cross my heart.